construction and remodeling, powered by Home Projects. Now introducing the Home Projects House Masters, Steve and John with Contractor Marketing 101 class level, effective techniques that cost next to nothing.
So John, why does the B2B marketing band only have backup vocals?
Who knows?
They're having trouble getting qualified leads. Yeah, okay. Why don't marketers like trampolines?
There's no telling.
They're afraid of high bounce rates. Okay.
Okay.
What do you call a travel agency landing page?
Intrigue me.
A destination URL.
That's just bad.
And finally, why didn't the marketing couple get married?
There's no telling.
They weren't on the same landing page. Welcome to House Masters, presented by Home Projects. I'm Steve, and this is my business partner, John. Before we go any much further with the jokes, we ask that you please subscribe to our channel, hit like at the bottom, and while you're at it, hit the little bell to give your device a push notification when we publish new content. It helps out a whole lot. We also ask that you make a donation to our cause, which will help me stop with the jokes. Without your generous support, we will not be able to continue this educational platform that you will be enjoying over the coming months and years. We are here to talk about contractor marketing that costs next to nothing, and that's no joke. See what I did there? No joke.
At no time during your rambling, incoherent thought did you ever come close to anything that could be construed as a rational thought. We are now dumber for having listened to what you said.
Which makes marketing all the more important.
Man, that was bad, man.
I'll let you take it from here. I'll be here all weekend. Tip your waitresses. Thank you for coming. John.
The architect marketer.
That's right. So seriously, this episode is about ways to market your company for almost no cost, which is important. Obviously, we're not excluding paid marketing efforts. But why don't you walk us through some of your experience with marketing of a construction company?
Well, before I get into these particular options here, I want to stress this is not going to cover conventional marketing methods, like your social media and search engine optimization and, all of your basic marketing that's been going on for decades and years under the Guerrilla Marketing mantra. What this is an episode based on outside the box marketing methods that I've used through the years, not only for other home improvement companies that I worked for before I opened my own business, but when I had my own business as well. And, you can pick and choose as to what works for you, and, we'll just go from there. The first one is actually something that I was pretty proud of. Give you a little backstory on this one. I was sitting at a home show called Homerama in the Virginia Beach market 15, 16 years ago. And it got down to the point where we were about to close and, the show is dead. Everybody had their booth set out and everything. And we're just sitting there talking amongst one another, all those guys that are working each individual booth. And the guy from Terminex from a couple booths down came over and started talking to me. And he asked me, he said, are there ever any clients that you guys work with when you sell windows and doors and siding that ever need termite or pest service? And to be honest with you, I mean, the question actually kind of took me aback because I wasn't expecting that question to be asked. But when I started thinking about it, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, gosh, just about every house I go into has dogs and they've got fleas, or cats and they got fleas, and they got ants, or this woman can't stand spiders, and every house has pests. So I told him, I said, yeah, I'm sure, there's a market there. He says, well, he said, have you ever thought about sharing leads? And I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, he said, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that I work with, in the pest control side that need windows and doors and siding and roofing. So anyway, I went home that night. I got his card. We traded cards, and it was on a weekend. And I started thinking about it, and I called him that next Monday, and I said, you and I need to go out to lunch and talk about this. What I did, or what he and I did, is we concocted a lead sharing group. Okay. And what that lead sharing group was it consisted of, on average, 10 to 12 individuals. Those 10 to 12 individuals each represented a particular trade in home services. Okay. So, in other words, you'd have a pest control guy, you'd have a lawn treatment guy, or landscaping. You might have an appliance repair guy, a real estate agent, house cleaners, interior designers, carpet cleaners, plumbers, electricians, HVAC, septic companies, pressure washing companies. I don't care, any company that does work for a home. And you make sure that there's only one in each group for each trade, because you don't want people, competing.
Right.
So what we did is we gathered a group of people. I think the first group we had 10. And we gauged everybody's interest. And once we got actually 10 that were interested in the concept, we all put our money into a pot to buy refrigerator magnets. And these refrigerator magnets actually had each company's logo that was represented in the group, with a particular special that company was actually going to give for the quarter. Say, 10% off of your first quarterly termite inspection or termite service treatment. Could be $25 off your first carpet cleaning. Could be a number of different things. But the beauty in the lead sharing was that when you went to a home for your company that you worked for, before you left the home, you would tell that homeowner, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, we work with a business consortium in the area that works with companies that have been, vetted. And we would hope that in the future that if you ever need these particular services, you would reach out to one of them. And as a thanks for you having us out to your house today, here's a refrigerator magnet. And with this magnet, you see coupons for each particular company's services. Now, the beauty in this particular lead sharing group is not only am I exposing my company to each and every other of the 10 or 12 individuals in that group, but they're exposing their company to every 10 to 12 individuals in that group.
Exponential.
So what happens? Exactly. So what ends up happening is if you have, for instance, I know for a pest control, they might go to 5-7 houses a day. Well, over a month's period, if they're working 21, 22 days, a lot of times they're working Saturdays too. So actually it's more like 26 or 27 days. If they're seeing a minimum of 5 people times 26, let's say 25 to be safe. That's 125 people that I've exposed the name of my company to. And all it cost me was probably about $150 for my portion of paying for those magnets. And you don't know how many times people would actually call off of those magnets.
That's good.
And how many leads we got off of. Wasn't necessarily that we sold every one of them, but it created opportunities for us. And that's the whole idea when it comes to marketing, is creating as money. It's a numbers game. The more opportunities you have, if you've got any salesmanship about you, you're going to sell some business. Okay. Yep. So, the cost of printing, it's going to be, shared amongst, you can do it one of two different ways. You can share it amongst the entire group each quarter. You have a meeting each quarter, and that's extremely important. And the reason why I say that is you need to make sure that everybody in that group is accountable. If they're not handing out those magnets, you're going to find out real quick. And if they're not, you need to get them out of the group and replace them real quick. Okay, because they're only hurting you as a group. Second thing, during this meeting, you're networking, talking about individual homeowners that you've talked to over the last quarter and stuff, discuss challenges or referrals that you've received from others. And, obviously, like I just said, determine in the group who is and who is not pulling their weight. Okay. This is not to say that you can only have one group. At one point, I had 3 groups. And each group, I had a Terminix guy in this group, I had an Orkin guy in this group, and I had another pest control company in this group. So I was getting 125 times 3 leads, or not leads, but exposures per week.
Eyeballs.
From just pest control guys, okay, to my company. So it takes some time to work it out, but I promise you, if you stick to it for at least 6 months, it will bring return to you. It's just an outside of the box way of getting your name out there and exposing yourself to all the other companies in your group's customer base or prospect base. The next thing, a lot of people don't like this. They think it's old school, but it works. Cloverleaf marketing, or better known as cloverleaf neighborhood marketing. I'll give you a little story. Large home improvement company I worked for in the Hampton, Virginia market. Worked there for about 3 years. Was a sales manager of 14 sales reps. We had a neighborhood in Virginia Beach. Will not name the neighborhood, but we got a roof job in the first house when you first entered the neighborhood. Put a job sign out, not only on the front lawn, but also the side lawn. So when you drove into that neighborhood, you saw, that's the first thing you saw was our job sign. Within 9 months, we had done 16 roofs in that neighborhood. The reason why is not only were we putting job signs out, but we were marketing in other ways and fashions around that particular job site. So we had a deal where we had in-house roofing crews, and we also had subcontracting roofing crews. It's more difficult when you're dealing with a subcontractor, but when you're dealing with a in-house crew, you can tell them to do what you need them to do. We required, before they left for the day, every day, to hang door knockers on 10 houses in all directions from that particular project. Excuse me. Down to the right, down to the left, in front, and then back. Most of the time, those door hangers would say something like, pardon our mess. We're finishing up for the Joneses. If you happen to think that you might need some roofing services or roof repairs, please give us a call, type of thing. Something easy. And we do that twice. We would do that in the morning, and we do it in the afternoon. The other thing that we would do on projects, not necessarily roofs, because most roofing projects are day projects, unless you're getting into, your slate and other types of things, or, shake. But we did Saturday morning sales tents. We would put out a 10 by 10 tent, right in the front yard, and we got permission from the homeowner to do this. And usually what would happen is we would offer about a $250 discount for us to have the ability to do this. But we would put a tent out at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday with a table, and we would have all of our products that we're using in that particular project, whether it be James Hardy or whatever window it was, or if it was GAF or CertainTeed roofing, we would have those particular samples and literature for those particular products at our booth in the front yard. And the reason why we would do it Saturday mornings is a lot of times during that time in a lot of neighborhoods, you got your people that run, they're the joggers, the walkers, the fast walkers, the bike riders. You have the people that are going out to, doing whatever and gallivanting in their cars, and they see you as they drive by. But we also had business cards and trifold brochures on a particular company, explaining exactly everything that we did. And again, you'd be surprised at how much exposure and how many phone calls we got just by doing that Saturday morning tent sale.
Hey, John, one thing I'd like to add to this is these are effective, but you also have to do them right. And everything you're describing is right. If you don't have a professional presentation, if you're not driving a logoed truck that's washed, if you're not wearing a clean shirt, basic hygiene, if you're not doing all those things right, this could actually be a turnoff and a detriment. So this requires some staffing and some planning to make sure you've got this down right, which I'm sure you absolutely did. But just for those who are watching, this is not something you wake up on Saturday morning and decide to go put a tent out in front of the neighbor's yard or your client's yard with some flyers you printed off of your HP Jet in your home. If you don't do this right, it'll backfire on you.
No, you're right. And the other thing that we would do that I have not mentioned is we made sure that on those Saturday mornings, we didn't work every Saturday morning, our crews did. But if we chose to actually do a morning sales tent, our crew would be on the job site working.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is if we gained any interest from a particular homeowner, say on a siding project, and they had the wall open, we could walk them over to the wall and show them exactly how we were installing that product to a T.
That's smart.
And that was actually giving us a heads up versus any of the other competitors, because no other competitor was able to point to a wall that they were actually installing when they were doing the sales presentation. So it set us apart in the market when we were going up against the competition, putting prices together for a homeowner. So that was extremely effective for us. We would run the tent booth from 9 to 12. I didn't do it all day. After 12 noon on a Saturday, usually the people are off doing their own things, shopping at the beach or doing whatever. But it was extremely effective. The next thing that we would do in terms of cloverleaf marketing was United States Postal Service has an advertise with mail program. Now, their advertise with mail program is extremely effective, and I want to give you a couple of features of that particular program. It gives you the ability to format your postcards, brochures, letters, flyers. It gives you the ability to set your radius. You could set it for a particular neighborhood, 6 neighborhoods, a zip code. However many postcards that you want, they will do at a bulk price for you. And the cost to do it compared to normal postage cost is minuscule, to say the least.
Significantly less.
Yes. Now, that's not to say that direct mail is the most effective method of actual marketing today, because it's not. But if it's used as a means of gaining exposure with other methods that you're using, i.e. yard signs, door knockers, people make decisions based off of repetition, okay? In fact, the first time they see your yard sign, they don't even see it. Studies show in marketing that a lot of times when a yard sign's in front of a yard, somebody that drives by it does not see it until the 7th time they've passed it. So that yard sign has to actually be out in that yard for a good 20 to 30 days for it to have any effect. But when you have a yard sign And then next thing you know, they're being hit with a door knocker. And then on top of it, oh crap, Tuesday afternoon, they go to their mail and they see that there's a postcard. For one, it adds professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like you actually are working off of a system and you're professional. You're not Buck in his truck or Dan in his van, because neither one of those two will actually do this type of marketing program. But it also shows organization. And again, it's a way of giving you a heads up versus your competition. But it's well worth taking a look at. It's the United States Postal Service and Advertise with Mail program. And I would highly, highly recommend that you take a look at it. The next thing would be YouTube. I know I told you I wasn't going to get you into conventional marketing methods. This is probably the most conventional that I'm going to speak of here. One thing that you have to understand about YouTube is owned by Google. And when I was first starting my home performance contracting business, I was at a trade conference in Lexington, Kentucky, with a guy by the name of Peter Trost. And Peter was a marketing genius when it came to marketing home performance contractors. And he was explaining to us about how if you got video on YouTube, you were instantly optimized to the front page because Google wanted you there because they owned YouTube. So you would embed your video on your website and instantly that would optimize your particular website to the front page. Now, I don't know if that's still true or not, but what is true is there's a thought out there that if you are on a TV screen or a computer screen and you're speaking to a particular subject, you instantly become an expert compared to all of your competition because they're not on the screen. If you have the ability and you're a remodeler to talk about your process, talk about your sales process, talk about your costing process, talk about your field process. How does a particular project go from the sale to the end of the job and that whole ordeal. You could talk about a number of different things. You could talk about products that you sell and why a particular product is better than others. There's a number of things that you can do under your own YouTube page that create a sense of expertise for your company. And there are some major benefits still. I don't know if it still guarantees you that you're going to be on the first page or not, because things have changed a lot with YouTube over the years, but it is going to still optimize you quite a bit. So learn how to get on a YouTube page and start thinking about what you want to talk about when it comes to your company.
And in contrary to the last one, in this particular instance, this device right here is all you need to make YouTube work. Then it'd be an iPhone. But the technology available these days to do that is very simple. You don't need fancy microphones and lighting and a fancy phone, because YouTube does a really good job of downsampling videos for slow internet speeds. But at the same time, again, make sure you're professional. Present yourself in the light that you want the rest of the world to see. And remember that anything you put on the internet is there to stay. It's not removable. Even the bad jokes.
Yeah. And to think that those jokes that you started out with are going to be there 15 years from now. Yep. Longer than we are going to be here. The next thing, a number of you have probably heard about this, but you don't quite understand it because you just haven't done your due diligence and researching it. But Nextdoor is a must. now granted, I know it's classified as social media marketing, but it's one of those secondary social medias out there that not everybody is truly familiar with. The beauty in Nextdoor is it gives you the opportunity as a contractor to become your neighborhood's go-to remodeler. It allows you to hone in your marketing to your particular local zip code or region that you live. So in other words, like Steve and I live in the northern area of Greensboro. If we want to hone in and start really putting our marketing efforts into northern Greensboro, we have the ability to do that through our Nextdoor account. And then the other thing that it does is it allows you to save costs on non-productive labor. One thing that will just eat the crap out of your profit margin as a contractor is having jobs 1.5 hours away from your office. If you have the capability of doing all your jobs within a 10-mile radius, you need to take advantage of every opportunity to keep it that way. And what's going to end up happening is being that you have a number of jobs that you're growing in that particular market, you're going to instantly get referrals off of those particular jobs. Why? Because especially in your rural districts, everybody knows everybody. And they talk to everybody about the projects that they have. They also talk badly about the ones that they've had done badly as well.
Double-edged sword.
Exactly. So you got to be very careful there. You can be in a rural district of anywhere USA. You do badly for one homeowner, and I can guarantee you everybody's going to know within about a month's time frame. So it can end up being a negative, but Nextdoor could be your fastest way, social media wise, to growing your business and staying as local as you want to be and minimizing your labor costs.
And I would, of all the things on your list, John, this is the one I have not done, and only because it didn't work well for an architect. It's better suited for trades and service providers rather than design professionals. But I belong to Nextdoor as a homeowner, and it exists for lots of different reasons. The primary reason I'm on there is for reporting suspicious vehicles or security issues in the neighborhood, because if you have Nextdoor set up correctly, it's a little bit like Facebook in the sense that it's interactive. In real time, you can talk to neighbors on the phone app, and if you see something, you say something. And it's also the local police are also watch it because of that. But people are also on there saying things like, "Hey, who did your roof? Who mowed your yard? Who's over there pressure washing your car? Man, your roses look good. Where'd you get the fertilizer for that?" So it's very similar to your original, one of your other ideas there with the pamphlets, but it's digital, and it allows people who wouldn't normally talk to each other to talk to each other, and so if you get on there as a business, you are not only allowed to talk to your neighbors as the business, but you can also advertise on there, much the same way you can with Facebook, but it's more concentrated, and as you said, it's specific to neighborhoods, or a group of neighborhoods, and it's like you said before, it's not well known yet. Nextdoor hasn't done a great job of marketing themselves, but for the people who are on it, it's a great value, and I look forward to it becoming more. It's been around about 10 years. I imagine it's going to blow up one of these days, but that's a good discussion.
What's funny about Nextdoor is you'll have somebody go in and they'll say, "Man, I just had ABC Heating and Cooling come out to my house, and they just did the most bang-up job, and they were reasonable priced, and this and that, so on and so forth, and I just wanted to let everybody in town know." Well, just off of that post right there, you'll have 75 people over the next 24 hours will go in, and they need to add their HVAC contractor to the thread.
Yeah.
They don't want their HVAC contractor to get shunned because this person just said ABC Heating and Cooling did a good job at their house.
One-uppers.
Yes, it's so funny the dynamics of how these threads work on Nextdoor.
Or they come on and say, hey, you might have had a great experience with them, but they sucked when they were at my house.
No, you're right. It happens, and then you got people arguing and this and that, and then the whole thread gets
it gets a little
out.
sideways. What do they say? No publicity is bad publicity. Is that how that?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting dynamic that is unlike any other marketing platform out there. And now is the time to really emphasize getting your company in, because just as Steve said, they have not done a very good job nationally in marketing themselves. So you have a way right now of getting in early where you don't have a whole lot of competition advertising.
On a side note, before you go on to the last one here, I have a ring system in my home, security cameras, outdoor security cameras, and the app associated with those cameras is connected directly to Nextdoor, which is slick. And so if my camera records something and it announces to me that, hey, you've got, there's someone in your driveway, or there's whatever, and it sends it to you, and it's something that you need to share with Nextdoor or with social media, all I have to do is push a button on the app and it automatically gets uploaded to my Nextdoor account. Again, I think Nextdoor is focusing on community service. It was started as a watchdog kind of group, neighborhood watch type situation. But there are big companies out there. Of course, Nest and I think it was Nest is also owned by Google. Amazon, and Google, I believe, has maybe it is Nest. I'm kind of rambling here, but those companies are owned by much bigger companies who obviously have an investment in Nextdoor, and so it's coming. It's going to figure it out, and it's going to poke through. If Elon Musk can buy Twitter, anything's possible.
Yep. And last but not least, and again, I know I'm talking about social media, but you have to understand some of the changes that are about to occur within the next couple of months with this particular platform. Facebook ads and marketplace. Facebook Marketplace right now is 100% free. And to be honest with you, 2 years ago, I hired my first contractor right off the marketplace. Last place in the world I would have ever thought I would have hired a contractor.
You didn't go to Craigslist?
No. But I'll tell you what, one of the best contractors I ever hired. They did all that concrete work in the backyard, in the fire pit and everything, with the sidewalks. This guy was just top notch, reasonably priced, on time, communicated everything, and I got him straight off the marketplace. Facebook ads are extremely cheap, and the beauty of it is, yes, I was just going to say that. It gives you the flexibility in your marketing to hone in to particular demographics that you want to see. For instance, you want to go after homeowners only that are 25 to 54 and live in this particular zip code. You have the capability of doing that with Facebook ads.
And you can actually target them based on interests. So, Facebook is always listening, always watching. If you talk a lot on your Facebook channel about the fact that you are putting a deck on your house, Facebook knows that you're putting a deck on your house. And if you are a decking contractor who goes to put an ad on Facebook, you can have them target people who have interests in putting decks on their home. And all of a sudden, my wife and I say this all the time, you say something in your house, and we have Alexa, John, I know you don't do this, but we have Alexa in our home, or if you're just talking around your iPhone or your Alexa device, and all of a sudden ads for whatever you were talking about pop up on the internet. That's annoying as a homeowner, but as someone who's advertising, that's a powerful tool right there, because you are being your brand is being delivered to people who are actively thinking about what you are trying to sell them, and capitalism makes the world go round.
It does that. And just in summary here, these are, 4 or 5, 10 different types of ideas. Again, they're not the most conventional methods, all of them, but they are low cost, especially if you're starting out and you're wanting to get quicker growth. Um, Jump into looking at one of these lead sharing groups. Really start looking at this cloverleaf marketing. Not that you have to necessarily start out with a Saturday morning sales tent. Might not have the money to buy a tent, for Christ's sake, but you know, um, do an element of each one of these types of things, and I can promise you that you're going to start getting a return on that investment. And then as you start growing, you can start doing more and more of them. But I can promise you, each and every one of these have been extremely effective for me, especially that lead sharing uh, concept. That was something that literally I stumbled across the idea one night and put them together. Next thing you know, about 6 months later, I had 3 groups, and I had bird dogs literally all over the Tidewater area exposing my company to their customers. I mean, name another instance where that's ever going to happen.
That's powerful.
It is.
I have one story to add to this as a contrast to your success. Here at Home Projects, we John and I have learned from the hardest school of hard knocks, and this is one of mine. There are lots of networking lead sharing groups out there. John happened to create one organically through people he trusted, and it was a low cost option. But there are professional lead sharing groups out there. All you have to do is Google, and they'll come right up. And I'm not going to give any brand names, but I started my career belonging to one, and although it was extremely efficient for me, it did work. I had to quit it eventually because I became too busy, but it was very expensive, very time consuming, and it was not as organic and natural as John is talking about. But it was set up the same way. You paid to get in. You bought what they called a seat in the room, and every seat was unique. At the time, I was just doing my architectural services, so every group in town wanted me in their group because I was the only one in town doing it. So I actually got to move around from group to group to group and be guests in each seat in these groups because no one else had a competitor of mine. But I got actively involved in the group, became a leader of the group, was actually recognized regionally as a top performer in this leads group. And it worked very well. And I have several friends, personal friends that I met in this group who are doctors, lawyers, accountants, all the above. John and I did not meet this way, so I'll do fairness. But my tale's cautionary because if you're not careful, they can be a little bit scammy. I felt like a little bit scammy because the company that ran it was a for-profit group, and although their mission was to make small business owners successful, they were running a business, and it was expensive and time-consuming. So if you can do it organically, like John is talking about here, and create your own group, that's the way I recommend doing it.
Yeah, and with my particular, I know exactly the one you're talking about too. It is extremely expensive, and you got your monthly dues and stuff that you pay.
Yep, dance
The
cards
only
and all that.
the only cost to my method
Was
was
the
the
magnets.
cost of the magnets.
Yeah, which is brilliant.
And we would buy in bulk. So we would buy for the size of our group, whether it was 10 or 12, we would buy 1,500 to 2,000 at a time. And we'd all, I mentioned earlier, a lot of times you would either each put $200 in, or we would take turns each quarter and we would pay for it all.
Yeah.
depending on what group we were in. So I might have a $2,000 bill in March, but in June I'm not paying anything, and I'm not going to pay anything until next March.
Right.
But for $2,000 to be able to be exposed to all those different customer bases, let's see, you can't find a marketing that's cheaper.
Yeah.
So no, I know exactly the one you're talking about, and they do tend to be a little bit. It's almost kind of like
Cult.
Yeah, it really is. It's almost like Amway.
Yeah, a little bit Amway, like a little.
There's pressure.
Yeah.
You have to bring a lead to every meeting, and
you got to stand up and do your 5-minute, your 60-second commercial, 30-second commercial, and you're required to do what they call dances once a week with other members of your group, which were good. I learned a lot about people. People learned a lot about me, and it was successful. I cannot sit here and say it did not work, but I put a lot of time into it. They say I'm big into scouting, and they always say that volunteers, only spend an hour a week with scouting. What they really meant is an hour a week per scout. There's no such thing as an hour a week in anything. Anything worth doing is worth doing right, and this group did it right, but it was expensive. And all I'm saying is that your way might have been better because it was organic and it was a product that you created. So, but everything else on the list is amazing. But I think we've probably gotten to the bottom of the lead sharing, the contractor marketing that costs nothing. And I'm not going to close with a joke because this is very serious stuff. But I do want to thank everybody for hanging out with us on this episode. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. John and I will respond to them personally and do the best we can to help you with any questions you have. And if you have any ideas for future episodes related to this, we'd love to hear that as well. We have lots and lots of stories about how marketing has gone well and gone bad. We could probably do an entire episode on the home show, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Like our channel and our video. Share it with your friends and family. Talk us up. And if you have an opportunity and are finding value in what we're saying, please go to our website and make a small donation to the cause so we can keep this valuable resource in front of you at all times. John, anything else you'd like to say before we exit out?
I think I have fulfilled my mission.
Fulfilled your mission. All right, everybody. Until next time.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe. Leave a comment or question while you're at it. Your support is very important. Visit www.homeprojects.com to donate via PayPal